3 sessions. So it's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you for the invitation. And it's my particular pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Lisa Trabocco. Lisa is a rising star, really. She's a rheumatologist from the Philippines, and she's currently pursuing graduate studies in health informatics. She's got broad clinical and research interests, including lupus, vasculitis, and educational technology. And she recently received an APLAR award to expand her fellowship project into a continuing medical education tool for trainees. And this year, she's aiming to study how to improve telemedicine workflows. So today she's talking to us about digital room trends and telemedicine, room for AI. Lisa.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the board. And I want to thank the APLAR GCR team, especially our committee chair, for inviting me today. I'm honored to present a little bit about digital trends in rheumatology. But first, a little flashback. So JCR was my first overseas experience as a fellow. And while I am actively advocating for hybrid conferences, it is wonderful to see the return of in-person conferences once again. So I promise this presentation will not be an information overload of technical terms, as I am not a programmer. However, if you would like to learn the details of artificial intelligence, I'd like to invite everyone to come online or on site at Berlin for the 5th Digital Rheumatology Day. So what is artificial intelligence, or AI? In a simple but probably incomplete description, it is the capability of a computer to perform operations and tasks analogous to learning and decision-making to humans. So what does it mean, analogous to humans? Certainly, there has been some discussion and controversies about AI. For example, its capability for art. Just like this very cute, very good Kun designs here, using my keyword prompt rheumatology. But you can see from this really nice diagram that AI is not just machine learning. As the definition said, there's features analogous to humans such as planning, perception, reasoning, etc. And the subset of AI that we are interested in is machine learning. So machine learning is subdivided into 3 classes. Unsupervised learning, as the word says, requires minimal human intervention in terms of labeling items. Its purpose is to find the intrinsic structure of the data. Its connected components, giving us several clusters, but also to find outliers of patients, which for our clinical scenario would be those that may have rapid progression. And for dimensionality reduction, it's when the machine learning finds the most important feature of disease progression. Meanwhile, reinforcement learning is to optimize your strategy. For example, you have an objective in terms of treatment. While the third subtype is supervised learning, which requires human participation to label the data. For example, in training the computer to detect arthritis in X-rays or photographs. So do I, as a rheumatologist and a grad student, have room for AI? So I want to share some tools you can use with AI as a clinician, as a researcher, or for professional development or thinking. Take note that I Venn diagrammed my agenda because these things may overlap and interact with each other, especially for those many of us who wear multiple hat roles. So AI in the clinic room. To find room for AI, we asked what is the clinical task you need assistance with. So it would be very helpful to easily determine patient-reported outcomes, their analysis, identify findings in ultrasound, X-ray, especially for those with very few rheumatologists in the area. So for us, we only have 200 rheumatologists. This can be helpful in educating areas with no rheumatologists. So this is an interesting website where you can upload an X-ray to find out if there is radiographic sacroiliitis. So I just uploaded an image and tested the result. Although they are clear on their disclaimer that this is not yet for primarily diagnostic use and still in research. So, but still very interesting tool for them. So I actually discovered that one of the creators is a friend over Twitter. So you can follow him for more room related updates on their study. Also, what about real photographs? In this study, they used AI to detect the joint swelling. So they use the finger folds of the dorsal finger folds to detect joint swelling in patients with rheumatoid arthritis. Last APLAR, I talked about a very, very low-tech solution for my grad school project where I was trying to teach patients how to take photographs by themselves. But here is a study leveling this up where real photos were used to predict rheumatoid arthritis. So soon, maybe for areas without rheumatologists, an app can be used to direct patients to screen them in order to send them to for early diagnosis. Other scenarios where AI is being used clinically are those for MRI assessment and PROs, which is really exciting. But what about if I want to do my own training, machine learning? I don't know how to code. So here is a website. You can upload your example data sets and label them to train Giotto all without coding. So if you're just interested and you want to learn a little bit about labeling machine learning, so this would be a very nice place to start. So how about AI in the research room? So visual abstracts are a very popular tool on social media to help disseminate your research, get it some traction, attention, and VAs provide a eagle eye view and insights on emerging discussions, which can improve overall clinical practice. Although we actually use VAs, AIs in many ways already. If you're a fan of Google Visual Data, or even simply when using PowerPoint Smart Design. So these programs analyze word definitions and context in order to provide the most appropriate graphic suggestions. So for example, if it's an environment related word, the computer will convert it to something green or something blue colors to be suggested. So what about when doing your literature review? It is becoming progressively more challenging to keep up with the output. So in the week that I finished my slides, there were new AI modules every day. And even now, as I speak, they are being trained and created constantly. So it's very difficult to catch up with these nowadays. So, but first, it is very important to note that a good clinical question is of prime is still the first step. This is Open Knowledge Map, which creates clusters of papers that are interrelated in context, making it easier for you to sort through probable missed journals. You can also download and or cite and export the journals to your computer. Meanwhile, Site.ai has an interesting visualization style where the green arrows point to papers that support the other paper, while the blue arrows contradicts the other paper, while the gray arrows is simply mentioning the corresponding paper. Elicit is another website where you can check the summary, intervention, outcomes measured, and number of participants to help you with your literature review as well. My personal favorite would be Research Rabbit because it looks very nice if you have a large double monitor, like I do at my house, because you can see everything, the visual network, the summary, the download links to the paper, and even the other papers of the authors. So as soon as I finished writing that slide, several other AI websites popped up, and it would be nice for us to explore these, check their accuracy, their validity, since many of these are very much in public use. So what about AI in the classroom? So this is doing its rounds at social media nowadays. Glass AI combines their computer with a clinical knowledge database, and it is created, maintained, and updated by clinicians to create a differential diagnosis and clinical plan outputs. So how are people using it today? So you can generate differentials with the references. And my good friend here is a teacher in med school. So she is using Glass Health and ChatGPT to improve her case idea and treatment plans. Speaking of ChatGPT, Dr. Adam Rodman also actually included it as a sort of speaker for their clinical pathological conference. So it actually got the diagnosis wrong, but it showed an impressive knowledge and reasoning skills and was even able to defend their answer. And the last one that I'm going to share that uses AI is called an adaptive e-learning platform, which I will also be presenting more next month at the KCR. So one of these adaptive e-learning platforms is called Cerago. So this is what the dashboard looks like. So the platform exists, but the content, you have to design it yourself. So it won't work unless the content that you input would be carefully curated. So I designed several MCQ type questions, flashcards, fill in the blanks, and others. So where does the AI come in? When the student, or in my case, a fellow trainee, starts answering questions to the program, it then monitors how often the student gets it correct, wrong, how fast they answer, what type is the question. So the AI will keep grilling the student with the items that they seem to be more weak, while reviewing those items that the student is more familiar at a later date. So each orb is an item that they can view individually to see the specific topic. This can further be separated in the knowledge bank into questions that are easy, moderate, and hard, which can be helpful as well for teachers to find out if they need to revise the way they ask their questions. So in summary, we are already actually making room for AI, as it is already here or sneaking up fast on us in our activities as a clinician, researcher, and as an educator. I highly encourage those who are hesitant about technology to try to explore its potentials, because it's the only way for it to improve and prevent key errors. So there's always room for additional knowledge, as I would always say. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Lisa. That was a fabulous presentation. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to take the chairman's prerogative and ask the first question. So I've started really enjoying playing with some of these tools. So I really like Elicit. I really like Research Rabbit. I've started using Chat PDF, which has actually been pretty useful. But the interesting thing is that I'm involved in university teaching. So I teach undergraduates at the University of Adelaide. And so it's been of interest to me in recent months to ask them what they're using and how they're using these tools. For example, we set them a task of writing a 600-word topic report that they have to write, and we randomize them to different topics, and they have to answer them, but it's exactly the sort of thing that you'd ask ChatGPT 4 to do and to produce it. So I've asked them how many of them are using it, and it's a tiny percentage so far. And similarly, when I mentioned Elicit and Research Rabbit, none of them, not one of them had heard of them. So I was really surprised because I'm old. I went to medical school, there wasn't the internet, and these guys are digital natives. So I'm surprised that they haven't sort of caught up with it yet. So I guess, anyway, my question is, this is happening so fast. How do we as teachers in universities keep on top of this, and what should we be doing to try to help our students to navigate through this world?
Thank you for the question. Actually, we do have some issues that in the university regarding ChatGPT, those problems. What if the student uses it to cheat and no longer read on their own? So I think that to be able to get in touch with those digital natives. So what I showed earlier, one of my friends was doing. So she included ChatGPT in the curriculum. So you're there. She allows also the student to use ChatGPT, but they have to talk about it in the discussion. What did ChatGPT get wrong? What is missing? So they cannot just 100% rely on the robot itself. So it's going to be there, it's going to be present, and what we need is to improve the critical thinking of our students so that they won't be too dependent on it.
Excellent, great answer. There are not currently any questions online. Are there any other questions from the room while people are thinking? Oh, yes. Oh, just wait for the microphone. Here it comes.
I think the imaging part, right, like MRI, like we used to see ECG earlier. Now ECG comes with some artificial intelligence. The report comes initially for a good. So what about in ultrasound and imaging, the artificial intelligence? I think it will be much easier to put it there.
Yes, there are some studies on MRI, X-rays. I think I'm not sure if it was last ULAR, there was a example of ultrasound machine on site where you would put your hand and they would try to analyze it. So, but these require a lot of imaging data sets. I believe they would thousands of data sets. So it would require working with somebody who already collected a lot of these images to train one program to be able to detect the signs that we're looking for in ultrasound. But clearly, yes, it has a lot of potential. And like I said, if you are in a community that doesn't have a rheumatologist, it can be helpful for screening and referring back early to the rheumatologist in the next city, next town.
Professor Danda.
Thank you for very nice, exciting, and very good, very relevant topic. And almost I agree with Professor Samuel Whittle what he said about these things are moving so fast. I just have one question. Do you have to have some filters to have what the AI says? Because AI often bluffs. Lot of bluffs are there. So when you suppose you title, right, tell me about Professor Samuel Whittle. He will say, Dr. Samuel Whittle was born in Ireland. He is a neurologist. This kind of things comes. So how do you prevent that?
Yes. Funny you should mention that, sir, because we call it hallucinations. So Chat GPT actually has hallucinations. So it makes fake references. So that's something that we should be careful of. That's why if a student would depend on it, there is that risk that Chat GPT, because it relies on the internet as a whole, it has a lot of fake information online. So that's one thing that we should be very careful of. Glass AI, the other program that I mentioned, is carefully curated by doctors. So that's a little bit more fact based. So the programmers have said they are trying to create some filters or security measures. For example, when Dr. Adam Rodman created the CPC conference, they specifically told ChatGPT that this is for a conference. They are that he is not he she it is not diagnosing a real patient in order for ChatGPT to give its ideas. But otherwise, I think they are already putting some disclaimers that the AI will say, please consult your doctor first, stuff like that, because it's very public. Anyone, not even not just doctors, can access ChatGPT.
And it's true. It did hallucinate about me. I did ask it about myself, and it said I had a doctorate from Cambridge, which I don't, but it's very kind of say so. There's just one final question online, which I'll ask you and perhaps paraphrase. It says that there are some countries, such as Iran, where things like ChatGPT are blocked or banned, or where the cost is prohibitive. So, do you think there's a risk that the rapid emergence of these tools might lead to some inequities between countries?
Yes, definitely. There are a lot of there's a lot of talk about the ethics behind AI, and right now there is emerging discussions on creating a guideline on its use, not just for the users but also for the programmers, because actually even the programmers are not 100% sure how it works. So they call it the black box, I think. So that's something that we should be looking into the future. It's still emerging, so definitely the fast pace of this will be something that we should all watch out for.
Fabulous. So thank you again, Lisa, for a wonderful talk, and please join me in thanking Lisa.
Thank you.
So I have the double honor of moderating the next session as well. So I will go ahead and introduce our next speaker for the epidemiology and COPCORD session. And that's Professor